set up with the elimination now, just beating the heck out of Reigns. Giant choke slam. Oh my God.
If you smile, it's correct.
Rock is in Philly. The Rock's at the Rumble. Whoa. The Rock playing the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. King, here it comes. The people's The Rock. Where did he come from? This is all we didn't think he'd be here tonight. Reigns with a Superman punch. Rock coming to the aid of Roman Reigns. Guys. Rusev's in this. There's spear. I'm looking back.
I thought he was gone.
No, Rusev was never eliminated.
Well, wait a minute.
But now he is. Roman Reigns. We have witnessed the... Last year
Roman Reigns and The Rock. It's all about WrestleMania.
Reigns becomes just the 23rd man in history to win the Royal Rumble match.
This is awesome.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lawcast. This week, we're going back to one of the most pivotal nights in the recent history of wrestling. It's the Royal Rumble 2015, the night the Roman Reigns train went right off the tracks.
This is such a painful night for me as a dedicated Roman Reigns fan, a dedicated fan of the entire Samoan family and everyone who comes out of it, and just a fan of WWE in general. This is a painful night for anyone who watched it. It's painful in so many ways, and watching it now, it's so fresh. I'm so angry right now.
Well, it's amazing this was 4 years ago because it really does kind of feel like yesterday.
It really does. And like, we're still suffering from several of the problems that they started at this night.
So I think we can agree Roman Reigns should not have won this Royal Rumble. It was a disastrous booking decision.
I mean, and we can kind of get into this. They didn't have a lot of great options for who should have won this Royal Rumble. Let's be clear. Like, this is a particularly down point in WWE history where just like in the past year, a bunch of their main guys are gone.
Yeah.
They don't really have the new guys ready yet, and the roster's kind of empty. Like, as we go through the Rumble, it's full of a lot of people who are at the end of like stale or failed pushes or who just aren't over yet. I don't really know what the better options are.
Yeah.
There's one obvious one.
Yeah, when Daniel Bryan was surprisingly cleared to return from injury before this Rumble, I think that would have been just the time to say, okay, this is our guy. And like, sure, we don't trust him to hold up long term, but we just need him to hold up until WrestleMania.
Right.
And he can wrestle Lesnar in the main event, and it would have been amazing.
In my heart, I can't blame WWE for thinking like, it's clear that Roman Reigns has it. Like, he's got charisma for days. Like, he's getting crazy reactions as part of the Shield. I totally get seeing him as the future. And I don't blame them for trying to make it happen now when they're in desperate need of another guy on top. It's just the way they go about doing it is so much worse than the decision to do it in the first place.
I think if you're going to do this, Bryan needs to not be in this Royal Rumble.
Completely.
Either because he just doesn't come back from injury because before the Rumble, you just hold him out for an extra couple weeks, or you put him in a title match against Brock here, and he can lose to Brock.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anybody would have had a problem with that.
Or, I mean, we were talking before the show, I can't, like, just as an idea, instead of The Rock coming out at the end of this, the Authority beats down Roman and Bryan comes in for the save. You make friends with them, and then therefore you don't hate Reigns.
Yeah.
That would that would reflect an understanding of what the crowd wants. That would still make Bryan important. Yeah. People would accept that. But they treat him like a 10-day-old bag of fucking dead fish.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the crowd just wants to be listened to. Like, they just want their feelings respected here. They want Daniel Bryan to be treated with respect. And, like, they could not have treated Daniel Bryan more disrespectfully than they did at this show.
And it's not just Daniel Bryan. It's basically everybody the fans express an interest in is treated like a bag of shit.
Yeah, Ziggler, Ambrose, Mizdow, they all get completely fucked over here.
And that's up and down the card. That's not just in the Rumble.
Yeah. So really, I think to put this show in the proper context, we kind of need to cover the entire year leading up to it. First, because we haven't really done any shows from anywhere near this time period. Second, because a lot of interesting things happen. And third, because I feel like the ripple effects of the events of early 2014 set the stage for this show. In particular, one thing I had really forgotten about until we went to do this and I started researching again, I had completely forgotten that the CM Punk podcast, the Tell-All podcast with Colt Cabana, dropped Thanksgiving 2014, the one where he talked about gotta make Roman look strong. And that is a big part of what goes wrong here.
See, I completely forgot about that podcast, but you're right. Like that's, and it's important to understand, like all through 2014, Roman Reigns is a star. Like people are cheering his ass off. Like you may believe in your heart that you always hated Roman Reigns, but you didn't. There was a definite period where Smarks were totally all in on this wrecking machine, especially when he was tagging with Seth Rollins. People loved that shit. It's so when it starts to turn, and yeah, I think that is pretty much the moment where it's like, oh, well, because at that moment, we have, as a community, we were taking Punk's side on everything.
Yeah, and like Punk, I mean, that broke the internet. I mean, he, after 10 months of silence, he finally talks. And he tells his whole story. And I don't think he actually had any ill will against Reigns. I don't think he actually meant to shit on him the way he ended up doing it. It just kind of happened and like helped derail Roman's career.
And much like the way that it's been ever since, this isn't really about Reigns. It's about the company and the fans being very unhappy with the company itself. Roman Reigns is just unfortunately made the figurehead of that company on screen. Like he's their boy. He's what they want.
Because he's the only guy they've tried to push for like 5 years now.
Yes. So
who else have they tried to get over in that time span? Just about
people.
Nobody.
And like literally, so like unfortunately for Roman, because it's not his fault. He's green. He's not ready. But here he is trying his best. But like the company wants him. So the fans reject him as a response to the company. Like, I feel so bad for Roman that he spends his entire career caught in this crossfire.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do anything to deserve it. He shows up and does his job, and for the most part, does it pretty well. He's not the greatest promo in the world, but he's a damn good rider. I mean, doesn't get the credit he deserves as an in-ring performer. He is one of the best in the world.
One of the best brawling wrestlers that you'll see. And like, that's not common in WWE at all.
So where did this all start? 2014 started on a sour note with the 2014 Royal Rumble. A couple of years in a row, this went really wrong. That was the night Daniel Bryan, surprisingly, was not in the Royal Rumble.
That was the night when poor Rey Mysterio got booed.
For the only time in his career. So, yeah, we come down to the number 30 entrant, and everyone in the world thinks it's Daniel Bryan, and he's going to win the match. And instead, it's Rey Mysterio, and Daniel Bryan is just not in the Rumble. And the crowd reacts in shock and then turns on the match and boos the shit out of Batista, who is their chosen one for this match. Batista has just come back from a years-long absence. They popped a big rating, got a huge pop, is a big over baby face, got a big blockbuster movie coming out that summer, like perfectly primed to win the WWE title. And he becomes the biggest heel in wrestling on this night because he's getting the push over Daniel Bryan. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty heinous that they mess up in the exact same way the next year when they saw exactly what happened to Batista. And it really seems like they blamed Batista for it.
Yeah, this soured their relationship with Batista, and they didn't repair it for, 5 years until they just got him back recently. They finally got him to come back.
Yeah.
They've missed a lot. I mean, he's become a legitimate Hollywood leading man in that time span.
Yeah, they make him turn heel. They push him into the background. It's a disaster.
Yeah, they cost themselves a lot of money on that night. I mean, Batista loves wrestling. Like, he wanted to do wrestling. Like, he was totally willing to make his movies, like, and come back and wrestle in between. And, like, they just blew it with him.
And just think about all the years that in between here and now, when they could have used fucking healthy dose of Batista in the main event of some of
God, Batista versus Lesnar. I'm
never
still up
happened.
for that. Yeah.
It's still a dream match. It has been for 15 years.
God, we never got Batista versus Lesnar. We never got Batista versus Reigns. We never got Brock versus Rock after that first match they had.
We never revisited Batista versus Triple H. We never did any of this.
Ooh. And who are they cheering against Batista at the end of the Rumble? Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
See, I told you it all came full circle. But yeah.
That night, Roman Reigns is just a new guy, and he breaks the eliminations record, and he owns that shit in a way that only really Diesel and Kane had ever owned it before. And more like Diesel, honestly.
Yeah, he gets the Diesel push. He just throws out everybody. 12 eliminations in not that long a time period.
And that's almost half of the whole fucking field.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it comes down to him and Batista at the end, and everybody is cheering for him. Fascinating.
It really is.
And the night after the Rumble was the night CM Punk quit WWE. And 5 years later, he's still not come back.
Oof.
Yeah. So, I mean, we all know the story there. He was working through injuries. He didn't feel like the medical staff was taking care of him. Wasn't happy with the creative direction they were going in. And he said, fuck it. And he walked out. And, like, I just feel like it's appalling personnel management that, like, according to him, like, they literally, like, didn't call him for just months and months. Like, I don't understand. It's just a pissing match that got out of hand. The hubris of this company that there's like, we don't need CM Punk. We don't need Batista. We're WWE. Man, those guys would have been really helpful.
It's almost like they're more comfortable when they don't have anybody over to deal with. And they're just like, oh, well, it's so easy with just a crew of jobbers all the time.
There's this theory that after Brock quit back in the early thousands, that Vince decided he didn't want megastars anymore because it led to too much boom and bust. They had too much leverage over the company. And I don't know. I don't know if that's really true because they've still tried to push like John Cena and Roman Reigns that way. But sometimes I do wonder if they feel they do want to put the brakes on their guys and they don't want anybody to get too big.
It might very well be, especially if they're not like 100% committed to the company like Cena and Reigns are.
Yeah. And with their business model now, they don't really need stars the same way they used to. They don't need to build to big events. They just need steady. Their business is just content creation now.
Yeah.
So it's a different business model. The money in having a megastar is just not what it was when you're not selling pay-per-views.
And like ratings and buys and stuff like that, like there's nothing to fluctuate. Like ratings can't rise beyond a certain point anymore. There's just not that many people watching television. And they're not going to go below a certain point either because there's a baseline of people who watch Raw every single week no matter what. So, and there's no pay-per-view buy rates to pop at all. So at a certain point, it's like, what's the benefit of having a megastar?
So the one way in which Punk walking out of the company was helpful was that the reshuffling of the WrestleMania card after Punk quit was what led to Bryan getting the title. When Punk quit, according to Bryan, the plan was for him to wrestle Sheamus at WrestleMania 30. And it was going to be Punk Triple H, and the main event was going to be Orton versus Batista. That WrestleMania would have been a train wreck.
Like, I may have taken a video of myself shitting on the TV. It had graced it. Whoa, my God, what a disaster.
Like, that would have done long-term damage to the company if Bryan doesn't get the belt at this WrestleMania.
Jesus.
Yeah, like, they were going straight to hell on the path they were on. So, yeah, WrestleMania 30 is one of the most important shows in WWE history. It's the launch of WWE Network. It's Brock Lesnar breaking The Undertaker's undefeated streak. Daniel Bryan having the incredible night where he beats all of Evolution, beats Triple H in the opening match to get into the main event, beats Orton and Batista in that incredible triple threat match, walks out WWE World Heavyweight Champion. One of the greatest WrestleManias of all time.
Oh, God, yeah. And one of the only WrestleManias that just watching it in a vacuum, like, it'll never age. Like, it's perfect. The through line of Bryan winning the title in that night is one of the best that they've ever presented.
What do you think of the decision to have Brock break the streak there? I feel like they booked themselves into a corner and they kind of had to have him do it.
It's so complicated.
Or he was useless. If he lost that match, he would have been nothing.
I believe that Brock should have broken the streak, but I don't think he should have done it until Undertaker was ready to go. And if Undertaker was never
still not, apparently, yeah.
I don't think it was wrong to break the streak. I just don't know if that was the right year to do it. But I understand why they did it, and they got the reaction they wanted.
I do think they probably thought Taker was done because he was really not in good health at that point. He is moving, 5 years later, he seems to be moving much better than he was back then after he's now had his hip surgery. But yeah, at that point, he was looking really old and really finished.
Yeah. And you got to remember, like, there's a lot of kind of revisionist booking about, like, how that shouldn't have happened. At the time, I mean, it was covered by every news outlet on the fucking planet. Like, it seemed like the right decision. Like, it heated up Lesnar so much. He was getting, like, boos, like, for days.
It's like I said, they booked themselves into a corner by booking Brock so weakly, by having him lose to Cena, by having him lose to Triple H. The year before that, he had lost his luster. So if they had booked him correctly and brought him in and had him beat Cena, had him beat Triple H, they wouldn't have needed to do that. But because of the way they had treated him, they had to do something drastic to heat him up again. And it led him to a crazy big run that he subsequently had. I mean, he's still riding that momentum to this day. He's obviously cooled off from where he was around this time, but he's still a dramatically bigger star because they did that.
And let the record show that we all as fans spent years trying to figure out who would best capitalize on breaking that streak. And I don't think that there's anyone who could have capitalized off of it more than he did.
No,
I don't think there was a young guy who could beat Undertaker and sustain the amount to which Lesnar stayed over afterwards,
Yeah, I mean,
right choice.
Maybe Batista, but the streak wasn't nearly as big back when he would have broken it. Like the Batista-Orton period.
Yeah, they really almost did it with Orton. Like, Undertaker wanted to do it with Orton.
It's good that they didn't, because that sold WrestleMania for years.
And but that's the good thing too. It's right around the time that the network launches, you don't really need the Undertaker streak anymore.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
And the network was probably a factor in it too, because I think they wanted something that people would feel like they had to see. And they thought they could sell a bunch more network subscriptions for it. It's oddly similar to when they had Hogan win the title at WrestleMania 9. Part of the motivation there was that was the first time they had the pay-per-view replay on Tuesday. They wanted to see if they could get a bunch of people to buy the show on Tuesday.
Right.
Here it was, how many people can we get to buy the network so that they can see Lesnar break the streak?
And it's that was some damn smart marketing, because again, it's on SportsCenter, it's on the CBS Nightly News, and right attached to it is WWE, who just launched their brand new network service.
Yeah, but despite that, they end up doing kind of a disappointing number of initial subscribers, like 750,000 subscribers. They were definitely hoping for over 1 million.
Oh yeah, for sure.
great moment for Bryan. It was obviously never going to last, and I don't think he should have been like a super long-term champion. I think the idea of having him drop the belt to Lesnar at SummerSlam was probably the right one.
Yeah.
So probably he would. I feel like at WrestleMania 30, they knew where they were going for the next year. I think they knew we're going to have Lesnar take the title off Bryan at SummerSlam. He's going to have a ton of heat, be the most hated man in wrestling. And then we're going to have Roman Reigns as our next top babyface, beat him at WrestleMania 31, and we're going to crown Roman as the new top face in the company.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
When you lay it out like that, it makes complete sense. It sounds like the exact path to crown a new top star.
Yeah, but some funny things happened along the way.
Yeah, they sure do.
So Bryan has had reoccurring neck problems for months at this point. They get worse and worse. His hands are going numb. He has to drop the title. He has to have neck surgery. His only title defense was against Kane at Extreme Rules. I can't remember. I think that was a falls count. It was either a falls count anywhere or last man standing match.
Yeah, because I know there were a bunch of tables involved.
Yeah, he won, thankfully. Then he was unable to wrestle. He held on to the belt for a little while, and then he forfeited it on the June 9th episode of Raw. Yeah, tough break. It's wrestling. Sometimes it's tragic.
It was obviously disappointing to everyone.
Yeah. So with Bryan out, the feud they turned to really lead the company was the Shield versus Evolution. The Shield turned face by turning against the Authority before WrestleMania. At WrestleMania, they destroyed Kane and the New Age Outlaws in just like an awesome squash match.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, I just love that, no, we're not going to have these old guys be competitive against the Shield. They're going to do the job in 2 minutes. It was perfect.
It's exactly what it should be.
And then the next night on Raw, Triple H made Bryan defend the title against him, and a bunch of heels beat up Bryan, and it looked like Triple H was going to win the title. And then the Shield came out to a mega pop and saved Bryan, prevented Triple H from being able to start the match. So the Shield are just mega baby faces at this point.
And it's this weird situation where they're sitting on a trio of people who are basically the top babyface act in the company aside from Bryan.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to come up with things for 3 different people to do at the same time.
That's the thing, is I feel like there was a longer babyface run here, but it's tough to keep coming up with opponents for them. They kind of fell into the fact that they had Evolution back.
Right.
And then I think there was more mileage in Shield versus Wyatt family. That never got resolved before WrestleMania. Those matches were mega over. Those definitely could have been pay-per-view main events.
Absolutely. And let me just say that I am a gigantic fan of those Shield Evolution matches. Those are some of the funnest matches in WWE history for me.
Yeah. So, a week or two after WrestleMania, Triple H brought back Evolution. Are you going to paint a word picture on this one?
Oh my God. I can't remember how it goes.
All right, I'll do it then.
Okay.
You got the Shield put in an 11-on-3 handicap match. They're fighting literally the entire roster. They fight heroically. They hold their own for a little while, but eventually the numbers are just too much, and they're getting pummeled by the entire roster. Every bad guy on the roster is kicking the shit out of them. And then, a hush falls over the crowd. We start to hear that that kind of ticking noise at the beginning of the Evolution theme.
Yes.
And oh my God, Triple H, Batista, Randy Orton all come out to the ring in their suits. It's just amazing to see these guys, and they're way scarier now that they've all grown up and have old man strength.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, is that
it is Evolution.
We haven't seen them together since they've all been 12-time world champion shit. This is the most. God, is this the most credible stable ever assembled?
Short of the NWO.
Yeah, this is top fucking stars in a stable together, reliving
30 world titles between them.
And against these kids, literally like children just called up like a year before.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've evolved to the point where Triple H is now the wise man. He is, kind of the star of yesterday, although he's still in amazing shape. Orton and Batista have evolved into the stars of today. And yeah, they come to the ring and they just demolish the Shield. Like, just leave them laying. Like one of those just like fists only beat downs.
Yep.
Yeah. Just like settle all family business.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So at Extreme Rules, we've got the Shield against Evolution in like an Extreme Rules, maybe Falls Count Anywhere match, but really good match. Highlight was probably Rollins like doing a dive off like the crowd balcony, taking out everybody, and the Shield get the win. They beat Evolution, one of the greatest stables of all time.
Clean.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. Like, I remember just being shocked at the time that, like, these three guys are putting over the Shield. Are you serious?
Yeah. And then the next month at Payback, the main event is the Shield versus Evolution in an elimination match. And Shield wins 3-0. Clean sweep.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah. Like, you couldn't have put it – like, one, it totally ends the feud. Like, it cannot go on from there. And, like, they cannot put them over any stronger.
And, like, the weird thing is this choice to do this and to put them over Evolution specifically sets up their booking for, like, the next decade. Like, we're still living it. The idea that when the Shield is assembled, there is literally no force that can stop them. It's not a question. If you put them together, it's over with.
But they're self-destructive and they can never stay together.
Yes. But like
20
years from now, they're going to put their fists together and like beat up whoever. And it's still going to get a gigantic pop because they've established that as part of the narrative of WWE history. It'll never go away.
You can't beat the Shield. No one can beat the Shield when they're united.
The greatest stable in the history of wrestling. Like, you can't deny it.
So the night after Payback, Batista quit WWE, walked out, and then Triple H revealed his backup plan in which Seth Rollins turned on the Shield and joined the Authority. Yeah, I think it was too soon to break them up.
It was. But what?
And I think it hurt them. But man, it was a jaw dropper. But yeah, I mean, I think the Triple H's plan probably should have been to unleash the Wyatt family on them.
That would have made sense.
Yeah, like he turns to the gang of psychos.
It's interesting, though, because if you don't do this here in this way, I do wonder if Rollins slips through the cracks after the way that Ambrose has.
It was very smart to have Rollins be the one to turn because I think everybody thought it was going to be Ambrose.
Oh, God, yes.
And they were teasing the Shield breaking up back before WrestleMania. I think they were probably considering doing the Shield triple threat at WrestleMania 30, and it was smart that they didn't. But yeah, at that point, it looked like Ambrose and Rollins were going to split, and Ambrose was going to turn heel.
But instead, they do it with Rollins, and they give him that character development. And it winds up giving him promo skills that he absolutely didn't have. It winds up giving him credibility and puts him in a spot where he's getting big-time premier matches, and he kills every single one of them.
Yeah, he was absolutely the one who was the most likely to be the Marty Jannetty of the team.
Yeah, and instead, he becomes the workhorse of the entire company. So he and Roman both get over huge, and Ambrose is still trying to find his place because there was just no room for him to just be the victim.
Yeah,
somebody got to not succeed.
Yeah, they go their separate ways. I mean, Seth Rollins, becomes the Authority's guy. He gets some different gear, leather pants, wrestles shirtless. Ambrose starts wrestling in jeans and a tank top. They put Ambrose into a feud with Rollins. That becomes a long-term blood feud. Reigns, nothing changes. He keeps the Shield music, basically. He keeps the Shield gear. He doesn't really get a new character. He doesn't really get any character development. But they make what I think was maybe the biggest mistake of all is they split him off from Ambrose.
Agreed.
Like,
they should have just left him as a team.
yeah, that relationship is one of the things that really works about Roman Reigns. And like, he needs something to humanize him. And like, him and Ambrose is just like bros who hang out and drink beer is super relatable and cool.
Say it with me for the kids in the back. Everybody needs relationships in wrestling. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
It's really tough to get over as a loner.
Absolutely.
They start doing some cheesy stuff with Reigns in the summer. Like, you remember when he like poisoned Stephanie and like poisoned Stephanie and made her puke. You're having him try to do these like rock, comedy promos, and oh my god, Roman Reigns is not funny. Like, nobody's perfect. Roman Reigns isn't funny.
It takes them so long to realize what Roman Reigns is, despite the fact that what Roman Reigns is just Joe. That's him. That's what's going to work.
Yeah, like, the less said, the better. He's just not a great promo. The more he talks, the less impact it has.
Like, the greatest promo that Roman Reigns has ever cut in his career, and I feel like this is going to be unanimous, is the night after WrestleMania when he beats The Undertaker, and he says one sentence. Best promo of his career. Amazing. Legendary.
Milks it and milks it and milks it.
It's my yard now.
Ooh. So they had a ladder match for the vacant WWE title at Money in the Bank. Cena won it. That night, Rollins also won the Money in the Bank ladder match. Cena, of course, gets murdered by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in one of my favorite matches of all time. And Brock Lesnar comes out of that as the biggest babyface in pro wrestling.
He really does.
Yeah. Setting up part of their problem is, Lesnar was supposed to have heat forever after he beat The Undertaker. And if it had been Bryan he had murdered, he probably would have come out of it as a giant heel. But instead, he's the ultimate babyface because he killed John Cena.
Yeah, but just imagine if that had been Bryan and he had done like the 1,000 suplexes and just teased him for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, a lot of heat. So feels like we're on the path to Lesnar versus Reigns for WrestleMania, but then Reigns gets hurt. He has a hernia injury in September, puts him on the shelf for a few months. At this point, they should be hitting the brakes on the Reigns push. Like, even if he can be back by the Rumble, that's too soon to go all the way with him. He's not ready for it. The fans aren't going to be ready for it. You're not going to have had the proper hero's journey to make it work.
Absolutely. And it creates a major, major problem, and they just don't see it.
Cena gets a rematch against Lesnar for the title at Night of Champions. I remember being so disappointed that SummerSlam loss didn't lead to any kind of like character development or change for Cena. I really thought that was going to be a critical moment for his story, but instead he just comes back and he's still John Cena.
Every single time. Every single time you think like this time John's got to get some kind of character development, he doesn't.
No. Instead, now all he's got is JBL's haircut.
I got in a big bald spot. We can't talk about this. I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The biggest heel in wrestling. So Cena had the match won until Rollins interfered, attempted to cash in the Money in the Bank contract, but Dean Ambrose showed up and prevented that from happening. Fast forward to Survivor Series, which is headlined by a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. Team Cena versus Team Authority. On the line, if Cena's team wins, the Authority is banished from WWE. If Cena's team loses, they're all fired.
We're going to do this show at some point. We talk about it every year.
Match.
This is one of the coolest matches of this era.
One of the best Survivor Series matches of all time.
And it's the moment that should have made Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Because
this was clearly going to be Reigns.
Yes.
99% chance this is Roman Reigns if he's healthy.
But instead they go with Ziggler. And in one night, Ziggler becomes a god.
Yeah.
And then Sting comes. And it's enormous.
Ziggler gets the pin after Sting shows up, takes out Triple H, takes out Rollins. I think the sign that they didn't really care about Ziggler here was Sting pulled Ziggler onto Rollins instead of letting Rollins either just do it himself or like catch Rollins with the zigzag after Sting has cleared house.
Right.
But yeah, at this point, I'm like, okay, it's Ziggler. Like Ziggler versus Lesnar at WrestleMania. Like, let's do it. Push the guy.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people thought that.
Yeah, I mean, in a happy coincidence, the next pay-per-view was in Cleveland, his hometown. Could have put him over in a big match there in the main event. He's a perfect guy to go 60 minutes in the Rumble. Like, yeah, the path is all there for him to get the push of his life. They didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
It's the Dolph Ziggler story. They could have done it. They didn't do it.
Yep.
And then in a moment of fate, on Thanksgiving, CM Punk finally broke his silence, and he released that 16-hour podcast with Colt Cabana that we all snuck away from our families to listen to in the middle of Thanksgiving Day.
Personally, I only read part of a transcript of it because I didn't have the patience to listen to the whole damn thing. And it was fucking bitter. Like, it was hard to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of his complaints were stupid and petty. But yeah, like I said, I don't think he really meant to bury Roman Reigns. I don't think he had that much of an issue with Roman, maybe a little jealousy, but like, yeah, maybe the most memorable part of it was him talking about how when he had that match against the Shield, everybody backstage was like, oh, you can do whatever you want. Just make sure Roman looks really strong. So yeah, I feel like the beginning of the storm clouds on the horizon for Reigns. Like in the summer, there was some, online complaint that just like, they're trying to make him another Rock Cena. Like they're pushing him too hard. He's not ready for it. And like people had a point, but I don't think it would have been that big of a problem.
It's kind of funny that nobody ever makes the real comparison because they always say like they're trying to make him another Rock. They're trying to make another Cena. When the truth is what they did was they tried to make him another Diesel.
Yeah.
They gave him the exact same push.
Yep.
They did the thing in the Rumble.
He's in the team.
He's in the team. He's the breakout star of the team. The other guy turns on him.
It's too fast.
Yeah. And then they do the same thing where they try to like make him a funny guy. And it completely undermines him. Like they do the same shit. But it's like if instead of what they did with Diesel, they just kept running with Diesel all the way till 2001.
Yeah. On the December 7th episode of Raw, Reigns surprisingly won the Slammy for Superstar of the Year. That was, according to the Observer, a legitimate vote. He actually won fair and square.
Wow.
And he came out to accept the award and got a really big pop. I mean, it was the first time he had been seen like in person on TV in several months. But yeah, he got a big reaction when he came out to accept it.
That's great.
And then he did kind of an awkward promo because, the promo skills were not there yet.
Nope.
At TLC, Reigns made his return from injury to help Cena win a tables match against Rollins. Really big pop there. Like, roof came off.
Absolutely. Like, the fans are clearly willing to accept him in this role, per se. Yeah. It's just every time something reminds them of something that they could have had instead, that's what pisses them off.
All right. And then we have a really big episode of Raw on December 29th. First, Daniel Bryan comes out, teases that he's announcing that he's retiring, but instead announces he's been cleared to return to wrestle and he is entering the Royal Rumble and he is going to win it. Like, just an incredible moment.
If Daniel Bryan wins this Royal Rumble, this is all you need. Is to like everything on the way to WrestleMania is just this promo. It's a dynamite promo.
Yeah. And then they can do whatever they want afterwards because they gave Daniel Bryan his moment.
But to do this promo and then have what happens happen.
Have him get dumped out of the Rumble like a sack of shit.
Like halfway through.
Yeah. Like a complete jobber.
It's just unconscionable. Like it's such a misunderstanding of what everyone's expectations were, or just not giving a shit.
They're so dumb. Like And don't have him say he's going to win it.
Yeah.
Don't make him a liar. Baby faces don't lie.
Like, look, fantasy booking's not that fun because it's too damn easy. But just have him say, I haven't been cleared yet, but I'm coming back soon.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have had him appear here at all.
Yeah.
He hasn't been around. Nobody's expecting him to come out and do a promo. Just he doesn't have to come back until after the Rumble.
And this isn't one of those things where we were like, oh, he'll be back any day now, so he'll probably be in the Rumble this year.
No, I thought he was done.
Yeah, nobody thought he was going to be in this Rumble until this. Nobody.
Yeah. Based on the health updates we were hearing, I thought he was retired.
Yes,
I thought his career was over.
He should have, probably. None of this helped him.
Yeah. Also on that episode of Raw, Seth Rollins and Big Show attacked Edge and Christian, who were the guest hosts of the show. This is a very chill-inducing segment. They hold Edge hostage. Big Show holds his head down on the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Rollins says he's going to curb stomp him and break his neck unless Cena reinstates the Authority.
I vividly remember watching that.
Yeah.
Because it crossed the line.
This was fucked up. I kind of loved it.
I mean, it was the most edgy heel thing they had done since Orton handcuffed Triple H and kissed Stephanie. It felt like that.
Yeah.
It was just dude, how dare you use Edge like that, you fucking scumbag.
Yeah. So he's got him. He's holding him hostage. He's literally got his boot on his neck. And Cena just quietly is I bring back the Authority. And he's like, no, you say it loud. I want everybody to hear it. And Cena's like, I bring the Authority back. And then Rollins goes, okay, that's great, but I'm going to kill him anyway. Man, I had forgotten what a slimy heel Seth Rollins was.
It was great. He got a lot of hate online during that time. I loved shitty prodigy Seth Rollins.
I thought he was great until he got the title, and then they booked him like shit once he was champion.
That's true.
But yeah, God, this moment. And then he goes to hit the curb stomp, and Cena bursts into the ring and spears him, and the heels powder. But then Triple H's music comes out, and him and Stephanie come out with champagne glasses and toast the crowd a Happy New Year.
And that's a great segment, though.
This is way too soon to bring them back.
Yes, and every single comment was why the fuck is John Cena saving Edge, his literal nemesis?
Yeah,
But it's John Cena. Baby faces do stupid shit. That's what it is.
That would have been kind of hilarious to be I don't like Edge. Do whatever you want.
Why are you holding Edge hostage? I like Cringe better.
You fucking idiots.
That's
seriously?
The one guy I don't like.
Yeah. So then Cena and Ziggler and Ryback and Eric Rowan were all fired by the Authority. All the non-Big Show members of Team Cena were fired, but Cena beat Rollins and Big Show and Kane in a handicap match to win back all of their jobs after Sting showed up, making his Raw debut and getting one of the loudest pops I've ever heard.
Oh, people were so into it.
Just an explosion when the crowd realized Sting was there. Man, Sting, it's such a shame. He came in so late. Sting comes into WWE right after WCW, or maybe he would have been better off coming in mid-thousands after the invasion. I feel he could have had a monster run.
It's so amazing that this is 15 years after Sting's been on any television program anyone gives a shit about.
They just pretend TNA doesn't exist. It's Sting just disappeared after WCW ended.
But after 15 years, he got a pop like this.
It's just and part of it was just it had been so long.
Right.
So we never thought he would go to WWE. We never thought he'd do it.
All the years of seeing promo videos and being is this Sting? That arm looked like Sting. Oh, wait, it's Shawn Michaels. Damn it.
Every time The Undertaker, Jericho would come back with their cryptic video packages, we thought it was Sting.
And just, it's a shame we didn't get Sting and The Undertaker, because that's literally the one dream match we'll never have gotten.
Yeah.
But still, this is incredible. And like the ovation is great. He looks great. It's fun.
And then after that, Brock Lesnar ran down and just like cleaned house and beat up the entire Authority and turned face, which is a very perplexing decision. Like, really, you start to question the fundamentals of this company at some point. Like, don't they want a heel for Reigns to go up against? Like, I know the crowd is cheering Brock, but shouldn't they at least be trying to get him booed?
It's so off the rails at this point that like nothing.
He could have been Lesnar could have been the one who threatened Edge to get the Authority back.
Oh God,
that would have probably gotten him some heat. Probably.
Well, and they keep doing this thing where like Heyman goes up to the Authority and is like, "I can solve all your problems."
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar. There you go.
And nothing ever really comes of it.
They call him their mercenary. It's the perfect idea.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I don't know. So yeah, on this night, Lesnar defends the WWE title against Cena and Rollins in a triple threat match. And for the Rumble, everyone is betting on Daniel Bryan. Like, going into this, I didn't think there was any chance anyone but Bryan was winning this thing. Didn't really seem like they were pushing Reigns much in the lead up to this. Like, he was just kind of feuding with Big Show. Like, didn't seem like he was the guy who was going to win.
Even like, if you want to find out just how obvious something is, like listen to like the panel of experts or whatever before the pay-per-view begins, where they bring out all the old legends and they just name whoever they actually know on the roster because they don't watch the show anymore. And literally like everybody picks Bryan except for Ric Flair, who's always wrong.
Who'd he pick?
He picked Ambrose.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Also, they're in Philadelphia, like the smarkiest city in America. No way they're going to fuck Daniel Bryan over for the second year in a row. Right? Right?
I mean,
oh, God. Like, how did they think this was going to work? All right. So after that prologue, we're there. Sunday, January 25th, 2015, at the Wells Fargo Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Sellout crowd of over 17,000 on hand. Didn't bother to look up the buy rate because it's WWE Network era. Should note that this was when WWE Network finally got a big bump in subscribers and went over 1 million. I think maybe more than this match that was attributable to the free month promotion that started in November.
Yeah,
a bunch of people jumped on for the free month and just, whether it was inertia or they just ended up really liking the network, just stuck with it.
Yeah, and they were trying a bunch of different stuff with the network at this point because they hadn't really had any shows on it at first. Like, I feel like this is right around the time when like Legends House and stuff started doing.
But yeah, the much maligned free month promotion really got over. And like, I don't know, people shit on that. And I'm just like, I don't know, like every streaming service gives you a free preview period.
Yeah, that's how you get people into it. And then they
forget about it.
Payments. Yeah.
I was once a member of Amazon Prime for a year and didn't realize it because I just forgot I had signed up.
I just went back through my stuff and found out that I'm subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime and had no idea.
Sounds about right. Like, you just forget this stuff. On commentary, the venerable team of Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, and John Bradshaw Layfield.
Is it just me, or the fact that these people suck, but like they were pretty good tonight?
They were not too bad tonight, but man, it just like around this time I was like, they really need some fresh voices. Like, it's been these guys for like 4 years at this point.
And I was so disappointed because I saw Corey Graves on the pre-show, and I was like,
I couldn't believe. Yeah, when he was on the panel, I was like, God, he was around at this point.
Yeah, because he was doing NXT right from the beginning.
I didn't realize he was on commentary already.
Yeah, so like literally, like he's sitting there, and I'm like, man, this booth is going to be so good the second you step foot into it.
Yeah, I mean, a year later, they bring in Morrow and Graves. I don't remember when Graves got called up to the main roster, but I think it was 2016.
I think so too.
Yeah. So they spiced things up. On the pre-show, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd defeated the New Day. Did you watch that?
Nope.
Me neither. But God, I loved Cesaro and Kidd as a team.
That was like the ultimate smart tag team. Like a team with absolutely no potential to succeed.
No. Like Vince is never like the two weirdest millennials on the roster.
Hey, look, it's this tiny shrimpy guy and this guy with a thick accent. Yeah, great.
They rocked as a team.
They really did.
It is such a tragedy that Kidd had his neck injury just a few months after this and had to retire.
It really is. Are the New Day heels at this point still?
They have not actually turned heel. They're booed, but they don't officially turn heel until after WrestleMania. But they're getting shit on.
Well, they're doing their like secret heel things.
Yeah, they know they're heels. Vince hasn't accepted it yet.
Right.
But yeah, they're being as dickish and annoying as possible, but they're still being booked as faces.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're getting the New Day sucks chance already.
Right.
Opening package. Rumble promos.
Yay!
And then it transitions to the Lesnar Cena Rollins triple threat. Opening match. New Age Outlaws versus the Ascension. Holy shit. Whoa.
And like they have the Ascension doing this legend killer gimmick.
God, the Ascension are like literally the worst tag team ever.
But like this was a period where like no new tag team had debuted like for years.
Like
this was like the top tag team in NXT, the only good tag team in NXT. Until like they won't have another one until
Revival.
No, it was before that. God, why can't I Big Cass and Enzo?
Oh, Cass and Enzo, yeah.
But until they debut, like the Ascension's all they have to offer, and they suck.
They're so bad. It's unbelievable.
They're still there.
How can they just don't fire anybody anymore?
Yeah, they're like the Kurt Hawkins of the tag division.
Well, and like with All Elite getting going, it's going to become even more pronounced. They are literally never going to fire anyone.
Oh, yeah, they're going to lock up Zack Ryder to like a 25-year contract.
Yeah, he's going to get the Bret Hart deal. But yeah, I never got the like. They're supposed to be like Road Warriors, like Demolition guys, but they're just like two regular sized dudes.
Well, originally it was two big dudes, and then the one dude fucked up and quit NXT, and they replaced him with a tiny guy.
Yeah, it's just like it doesn't work. Like they don't have bodies. They're not impressive.
And they're supposed to be like Illuminati something. I could never figure that out.
Fucking horrible. Their promos like felt like parodies of pro wrestlers.
Yes.
Just like super 80s shouting at the camera promos.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and like coming out in like Dracula Halloween capes, like just trash. Like genuinely one of the worst presentations I've ever seen.
I think in the first Q Scouts I ever did, I said like I used to have this thing where I give them a grade and then are they ready? And my grade was like an F, and are they ready? I was like, sure. Because you're gonna push them anyway.
They are what they are.
Yep.
On the other hand, I thought the Outlaws were kind of great.
You know what? This was such a great like little resurgence for them. I love it when like older guys who have been like resting for 10 years come back and have a little run. It's great.
Billy Gunn looks fantastic.
Billy Gunn will never not look fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it turns out he was, on some stuff, but still, like the kind of dieting and training he's got to be doing to look that good at that age is incredible.
He will go to his grave looking like this.
Yeah, and Road Dogg just looks like Road Dogg.
Road Dogg looks. That's the good thing about having been dumpy in your prime, looking that way forever.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Road Dogg's promo here was better than a lot of the ones he cut back in his prime because he's actually clean and like coming up with some new material.
This was really good. Like I liked them a lot. Like they did a lot of fun stuff around this time.
The pop's automatic for the Philly fanatic.
I was so wondering what the hell that shit on their head was. I'm glad they explained it.
That was helpful. Yeah, so the Ascension have been ripping on legendary tag teams, saying they're the best ever. And then on the Raw before this, they got their asses kicked by the Outlaws, the APA, and the NWO. Yeah, Bradshaw just destroys one of them with a clothesline from hell and might as well have brought out the shovel at that point.
And like the entire match on commentary, they're not even
Bury them, these fuckers.
I say these losers, and just talking about all the good teams that are way better than them.
Yeah. Like, some stuff happens. It's a 5-minute match. Ascension win with a chop block clothesline combo. It was a whatever match. In hindsight, the fact that they never really even tried to push the Ascension makes this a waste of everyone's time.
Literally, the best quote from this is right after the pin. JBL goes, "Well, not the result I wanted, but whatever."
Yeah, not going to get too worked up about it.
Exactly.
Backstage, Stephanie and Triple H talk about Sting, and then Paul Heyman comes in and proposes that they use Lesnar to take out Sting in exchange for helping Lesnar keep the belt tonight.
I guess this was meant to hint at a potential Lesnar-Sting match, which never could have happened because Sting would have died.
Sting would have turned to dust after like the first German suplex.
It just wouldn't have been an option.
Next up, for the tag titles, we've got the Usos defending against The Miz and Damien Mizdow. I had forgotten about Damien Mizdow.
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus, was he over.
Like, this is not a joke. Damien Mizdow is almost as over as Daniel Bryan on this show.
Like, I love when he comes. The boo cheer contrast between him and Miz is so great.
And like it's such a fun gimmick. Like, it has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There's no potential for this.
Yeah. So, like, Miz raises his arm, the crowd boos. Then Mizdow does it because he's his body double, his stunt double. He does it, and the crowd cheers. Like, Miz turns around and like glares at Mizdow, and he puts his arms down really quick and sheep it. Like, just hilarious.
Yeah, it's just great stuff. The idea of a stunt double gimmick is a credit to whoever came up with it.
Yeah. This is when The Miz got good again. Like, the end of 2014, when he was feuding with Ziggler over the Intercontinental title, it was like, okay, The Miz is back.
It's so funny to see him not be high up on the card here. Like, he's like a total afterthought here.
Yeah.
It really made me realize how far he's come. Like, at this point, like, The Miz is never this much of an afterthought on any show.
Yeah.
He's teaming with Shane McMahon on the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah, he's been he's really been one of their top guys for years now. Just like so dependable, never gets hurt, never misses a day. Everything he does gets over.
Yeah.
Like, this was the beginning of like, he got Damien Mizdow over. Like, I think Sandow does a pretty good job with this gimmick, but like, it works because it's with The Miz.
Right.
Like, this doesn't work with just anybody.
Absolutely. And that just keeps happening again and again and again.
Do you remember the Raw before this when Mizdow showed up dressed up as X-Pac backstage? And for a second, everybody thought it was actually X-Pac.
No, I don't.
He looks just like him.
Oh, my God.
The Usos won the belts from Miz and Mizdow on Raw. Miz refuses to tag in Mizdow, gets worked over by both Usos. The Usos hit stereo suicide dives on both guys. Back in the ring, Jay misses a splash. Miz hits the skull-crushing finale. Jay kicks out at 2. Mizdow sneaks in, hits the skull-crushing finale. Miz crawls over, makes the pin, but can only get 2. And then Usos get the win with a flying splash. A pretty good match here, but again, kind of tainted by the fact that they never bothered to push Mizdow. I don't even remember if him and Miz ever had a match on pay-per-view.
I think they kind of famously didn't. Like, there was like no reason not to, but they just never got around to it.
Somebody backstage hated Damien Sandow.
And like the problem is too, is that when he went to TNA and everyone was all excited for it, we kind of realized that he sucks. So
yeah,
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. There's probably no way. Like, I remember at the time, like, racking my brain trying to think of how you could make this work, like him on his own.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any way for it to work.
I mean, I used to have, when I was like a kid doing like backyard wrestling, my gimmick was like the chameleon, the guy who would just like imitate famous wrestlers every match. So like maybe he could have done something like that where he like comes out as like, oh, I'm Hulk Hogan today. Oh, I'm Steve Austin today. You can never.
Oh, you remember what they had him doing? They had him and Axel teaming as a Mega Powers parody, but then the Hogan tape came out and they had to drop it.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was doing Savage. And he wasn't like Jay Lethal good, but like he was pretty good at it.
That's so fucking weird.
And like that was fun enough that like, yeah, those guys could have gotten the tag titles. Like tag division wasn't on its best legs at this point.
Let the record show that the biggest pop for me on this entire show was finding out that this was the show where Curtis Axel begins Axel.
Yes. Because when he comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, it was like, oh no, this is this year. I thought they like already been doing this for a year.
Fuck yes.
Yeah. Then we go to Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury in the back. Mercury is playing WWE Immortals, and Rollins comes in and yells at them for not taking his match seriously.
I really liked them as like stooges for Rollins. I like that a lot.
Good stooges. He should have had some better bodyguard too. Like he should have had like my idea at the time was Baron Corbin. Like make him the Diesel to Rollins, Shawn Michaels.
That would have been a great idea to have just like a little stable revolving around Rollins.
Yeah, give him a woman too. He's so sleazy. Like it's perfect.
You know who to give him? Give him Steph.
That was like one of my grand storyline ideas that Rollins would steal Steph from Triple H.
What a fucking thing that would have been.
The heat of like Cougar Steph with Seth Rollins. And then Triple H leading an NXT invasion of the main roster.
Like in Steve's headcanons that he's mentioned to me, the only thing that's ever been mentioned to me more than this booking idea was Shawn Michaels returns at every single possible event.
Oh, you could have worked him in there somehow too. Next up, we've got the Bellas against Paige and Natalya. The storyline here is Paige can't keep friends. This is maybe the era of some of the most sexist writing in WWE history, where all the women are just catty.
And they always harken back to this as being the dawn of the women's revolution. And what they mean when they say that is that Paige was the first woman who could wrestle.
Yeah.
That's what they mean when they say that she's like the mother of the revolution.
AJ was the first woman to get over in forever.
Yeah, Paige was the first person to be over and be able to wrestle.
Yeah.
Like Natalya,
Page 20 here.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a kid.
Paige, again, harkening back to the Q Scouts thing, like she got the highest grade I've ever given anybody.
Yeah.
When she was coming up, like nobody's ever had potential like that. She could cut a promo. She could wrestle the lights out. She got over everywhere she went. She could play
face or heel.
And she was only like 19.
Yeah. It's insane. She couldn't drink legally. And she was their top prospect.
She was tearing the house down with everyone.
Yeah. And now she's 25 and her career is over.
Fucking nuts.
Wrestling's just not fair. And like
it sucked for her that she was first.
Yeah, because they fucked her up 100 ways. Like, again, was she a face? When was she a face and when was she a heel? Like, you could never keep it straight.
It's just, and like, she's the one who was having the great matches with the Sashas and the Charlottes and the Baileys and all of them down there, like leading them towards what they would eventually become. But she was alone. They were all together. So she got sent up into this Bella Twins, Natalya's Total Divas shitfest.
Yeah.
And like, look, I'm not somebody who shits on the Bella Twins. Like, I have nothing but incredible respect, especially for Nikki, who basically went from a person who didn't know how to wrestle to pretty goddamn good by the end of her career.
Yeah. But
this is just a time of trash. There's no way that you could look at this and be like, oh yeah, I see the revolution coming. Great.
So yeah, the Bellas had a big year in 2014 with Brie getting to feud with Stephanie in a super hot feud.
Yes.
And then Nikki turning on Brie and them feuding for a few months. And then they just kind of put them back together. Like, didn't bother explaining why.
That was
hot,
it
because
though.
Total Bellas was starting?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, I mean, they're over here. Like, they've got heat. And like, this is a good build. I mean, I think everybody knew this was building to AJ coming back to team with Paige. And that was a good storyline. The real heat would have been an AJ versus Stephanie feud, but they weren't going to touch that.
I want to institute like a new trope. Like, we have so many tropes that we have in our podcast. And I want a new one to be, and then that person was there too. Because there's so many times that like Natalya is the ultimate one of these. that for like 10 fucking years, she's just also been there too.
Yeah. It's like, who else was on that team? Oh, it was Natalia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else was in that match? Natty.
In random tag matches, in 6-woman matches, in rumbles, and weird table matches, and divas battle royals, and whatever the fuck.
What's the biggest win of her career?
I have to say it's the one that she and Beth had in the tables match. I don't even remember who they faced.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was the first.
Did she ever beat Charlotte in any of those matches? Yeah, I think she always lost.
She ever had the title?
That's the thing. I don't remember. Maybe back when it was the fucking Diva title. But yeah, like.
I gotta look this up because I honestly don't know. And she's been around for 800 years.
Yeah, I mean, it goes all the way back to. She was around before the Hart Dynasty. Like she'd already been on the roster for a couple of years when they showed up, I think.
Yeah, she has held the Divas title one time, and she held the SmackDown Women's title one time.
So that must have been recent, but I don't remember it.
She beat Naomi for it and lost it to Nikki.
Nope, I got nothing.
Oh wait, no, that's the fucking inaugural match. Are they counting that? Anyway, we can't go down this fucking thing like this.
So this match, kind of a nothing tag match. Natty gets worked over. The Bellas get the win without Paige ever building it, tagging in. Paige can't make friends.
Yep.
More Rumble promos. Reigns, Goldust and Stardust, Rusev and Lana, Miz and Mizdow, Big Show, Fandango, and Daniel Bryan.
How goddamn funny is it to see Cody Rhodes as Stardust here, 5 years away from headlining the competition for WWE?
God, Stardust. Again, on the list of misfires. Like, it had potential to lead to him and Goldust feuding, but then they just, wouldn't do it.
Yeah, they were just like, hey, you know what? You should just stay like that forever.
Next up, for the WWE title, Brock Lesnar defends against John Cena and Seth Rollins. Brock Lesnar is a god here. This pop was unreal.
It is very difficult to explain to people who are watching now what it was like a couple of years ago. Because Lesnar was basically doing the same stuff, but it wasn't old yet.
Yeah.
It was fresh and amazing. And, there's never been another wrestler that threw people around the way that he does. Even on basic suplexes, he's sending them to the outside from across the ring. It's nothing. There's nothing like him.
He was also in fantastic shape here.
Yeah.
He was cut. It looked like he was, at the time I was like, oh, he's going back to UFC. That's not WWE shape.
Didn't he go back to UFC for that one fight? Was it this year?
That was in 2016. Mark Hunt was before SummerSlam 16. This is when he was his contract was expiring at WrestleMania. So he was teasing he was going to go back to UFC, but he was just playing it for leverage. Yeah, when the network popped their subscriber number, it was pretty clear they were going to back the Brinks truck up to keep him because he was the only thing they had that was going to draw. Lesnar dominates early. He's suplexing everybody all over the ring. He gets Cena in the Kimura, but Cena powers out of it. Rollins flies in with a knee that takes out both guys. Cena hits Lesnar with the attitude adjustment. Rollins throws Cena out of the ring and makes the cover. Lesnar kicks out at 1.
So good.
You couldn't touch this guy.
Nope.
Lesnar is quickly in control again. They all go to the floor. Lesnar gets drop kicked into the ring post. He's down for a little while. Rollins and Cena fight in the ring. Cena goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle, but Lesnar appears and hits him with a German suplex. Brock goes for another German suplex, but Rollins takes him out with a super kick. Then Rollins busts out a blockbuster on Cena. This is one of my favorite moves.
It's so good. And actually, when you do it right, it looks really good, too.
It's a great move for him, especially. Yeah. He can pull it off. Lesnar catches Rollins out of the air with an F5, but Cena breaks up the pin. Lesnar goes to the floor, takes apart the announce table, and in a great little touch, smashes one of the monitors on the steps. Never seen anybody do that before.
I love it.
Yeah. Like, he's just such a destructive force. He's like a wrecking ball.
My favorite thing about the way Brock Lesnar does what he does, too, is that he only has 2 speeds. And that's what makes him fascinating to watch. Is he's either lazy and slow or just full 100 miles an hour like a tiger pouncing to take you down. There's nothing, and it's shocking when he moves because he moves so fucking fast.
Yeah, remember when he had that massive brawl with Taker and like the entire roster is keeping them apart, and he like slips out and runs around the ring and like jumps up to get after Taker again?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like the crowd gasps seeing him move that way. I mean, this is a guy who ran his 40-yard dash when he did his tryout for the NFL. I think he ran like close to 4.6, which is like, I don't know, like slow wide receiver speed at like 280 pounds.
Yeah, like a fucking and he was going out to be a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Defensive tackles, like a good speed for defensive tackle, like a 4.8 is like a great speed. Like you're elite.
Yeah.
This motherfucker at 300 pounds of nothing but muscle at a 4.6, like what?
It's insane. Like this was like he was Aaron Donald athletic.
And he did not play football. This is after a year of just wrestling. He didn't do these drills.
Yeah. He hadn't played football since high school.
Training for the combine.
Yeah, just a freak of an athlete. Like this guy could have played pro sports and literally anything he wanted to.
If he literally wanted to play pro football and like had gone into it in college, he'd probably be a Hall of Famer. Like that. I'm not even exaggerating.
Like he's a freak. He almost made the Vikings. Like after not having played football since high school, like he showed enough. Like he was close.
Like if he had kept at it, he would have made a team the next year.
Oh,
I mean, he just didn't know how to play football.
Yeah, like somebody would have taught him, and he would have been really good.
It's like those rugby guys who they sign. They're just like, you don't know how to play football, but you're so fucking talented. We're just going to keep you around.
Lesnar goes back to the ring. Cena hits him with 2 AAs, both of which he pops up from, and then a third AA, but Rollins breaks up the pin. Like, just you can't beat him with just 1 or 2 finishing moves. It has to be 3 in a row.
And like, it's not even an exciting Lesnar match until like you've gotten him down for like the 10th time, and it's just like, oh wait, his face is all red and puffy. He's hurt. He's hurt.
Yeah, you have to hit a combination of like 5 big moves in a row to have any hope to pin this guy. Yeah. Curb stomp from Rollins on Lesnar, but Cena breaks up the pin. Lesnar goes to the floor. Cena spears him through the barricade. Cena slams Lesnar into the steps, sets him up on the announce table. Rollins comes off the top rope with a huge frog splash through the announce table on Lesnar, and Lesnar is dead.
Like, I've seen a lot of people diving off the top rope through table spots. This is the best one.
He hit him so good.
He gets like 20 feet in the air.
Yeah. This is where we should point out, like, Brock was great in this match, but, like, Seth Rollins was the real star here.
He owns it every set. And, like, this is his first title match. He has no practical business being in the ring with these two. Like, literally, the storyline up to now is anytime either one of them attacks him, he runs away. That's who he is.
Yeah.
But he is literally holding his own with the 2 biggest stars available.
Yeah. Like, this is when we see that Seth Rollins could be a great main event babyface.
And, like, I genuinely think that this match being so good and him being so ready plants the seeds for WrestleMania. Because in the back of their mind, you're like, you know what? You know who's ready?
Yeah. That's the break glass. Pull, and Seth Rollins is here to save us.
I used him in that role ever since.
Yeah.
Oh shit, the ratings are down. Give Seth 60 minutes on Raw.
Yeah. In the ring, Rollins and Cena fight. Cena goes for the AA, but Rollins like flips out of it and lands on his feet. Cena nails Rollins with a big sit-down powerbomb for a 2 count. Rollins hits a buckle bomb for 2. He goes for the curb stomp. Cena counters into an STF. J&J run in and break up the submission. A stretcher is brought out for Lesnar. Rollins, Mercury, and Noble hit a triple powerbomb on Cena, but he kicks out at 2. The announcers try to be like, oh, there's the new Shield. It's like, fuck off.
There's the new Shield.
I do kind of wish. I don't know if they ever did this. They should have had like J&J come out in the Shield SWAT vests.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah. Rollins grabs his briefcase. Cena backdrops him over the top rope. Cena gets both Mercury and Noble up on his shoulders, hits him with a double AA. Rollins comes in with the briefcase. Cena counters with the AA. 1, 2. Rollins gets the shoulder up. Just like, what a match.
Yeah. Like, there's not really a great standard for Royal Rumble matches.
Oh, this might be the best undercard match ever at the Rumble.
I think it really might be. Like this
Triple H Cactus Street fight.
Yeah, that's really good. And to be honest, I like the Triple H Shawn Michaels match that they had to, and the Triple H Randy Orton match. Look, I actually like Royal Rumble title matches. Let me just put that out there right now. But this match is fucking phenomenal. Like, we only don't remember it because of how everyone felt about the Rumble. But this match is great.
Cole says that Lesnar has a broken rib. Cena goes for the AA twice more. Rollins slips out both times. Rollins hits the curb stomp, but Cena kicks out at 2. Rollins sets up Cena for the Phoenix Splash, and he hits it for like the only time I can ever remember because he always misses that thing.
Uh-huh.
Lesnar explodes back into the ring out of nowhere.
Like, literally slides in and is already clutching Seth Rollins from behind for a suplex.
German suplexes on both Cena and Rollins. Rollins lands on his feet after a German suplex. He nails Lesnar in the head with the briefcase twice. He goes for the curb stomp, but Lesnar throws him up in the air with his neck and catches him with an F5 for the pin. An incredible match. Like, maybe the best triple threat match I've ever seen.
It's incredible. The best of all of these guys. Just like everything that they do well, nailed it here.
Yeah. Great performance from all three guys, but yeah, I mean, breakout performance from Seth Rollins.
Absolutely.
And then we get the Rumble numbers package, and it's time for the Royal Rumble match. And here we go. Entrant number 1, The Miz. Seems like he always draws one of the early numbers.
It really does. He's never even been like a thought at a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, he's a guy you know can stick in there for a long time and like hold the match together.
Yeah.
R-Truth is number 2. It feels like this is when they really start. The default Rumble commentary becomes Rumble facts. Just like every guy who comes in, it's like, oh, so-and-so won from this spot. Oh, so-and-so lasted this many minutes, eliminated this many people. I'm not a big fan of that.
Like, they clearly got such a great response for like the Rumble stat package, and that's why they use it for like 10 years in a row.
Yeah. And
like, it's great because the Royal Rumble is the only time where there's anything like statistically relevant that you can talk about. That's why, like, we were talking a little bit last week about how AEW said that they wanted to make wins and losses matter, maybe track win-loss records. Like, that's cool. Like, people want stuff like that. They want something to feel connected to the past on.
To make things matter. But yeah, I think we go so far with it.
It's like Matt Stryker level of just beating it to death.
Fucking Matt Stryker. Matt Stryker called a Rumble one time, and it was god-awful.
I bet it was, buddy.
Nothing really happens. Number 3, Bubba Ray Dudley. First appearance for the Dudleys in 10 years.
I mean, one of them.
Yeah, no Devon.
Or Devon couldn't get the call.
I read that they tried Devon and he couldn't make it. I'm sure Devon probably would have been number 4.
So, okay,
this was very disappointing.
Here's what happens, all right? Let me paint you a word picture. All right, so it's R-Truth and The Miz in the ring, and they're mixing it up. Unfortunately, the announcers failed to make any mention of the fact that they were once the greatest tag team in WWE history. And out comes Bubba Ray Dudley. Huge pop, obviously. We're in Philly. ECW chants all the way around. He gets in the ring, they're mixing it up. And then at one point, R-Truth's on the top rope, and Miz is lying on the ground, and Bubba grabs his legs, and he looks at Truth. And what I guess happens is that Bubba Ray Dudley just sees a black guy, and assumes he's his tag team partner. Because otherwise, it's real fucking weird that they just like have a random black guy be Devon, right?
They just use Truth in Devon's spot.
There's literally only like one black guy on the roster, and you have him do this. It's weird. It is.
A little weird. It's a little weird.
And then they just do all the spots. And to Truth's credit, he nails all the spots.
Pulls him off, yeah. Bubba tells Truth to get the tables. Miz cuts him off. They combine to hit a 3D, and then Bubba tosses Miz out. So when I said this was disappointing, what was disappointing was Bubba's coming off his incredibly hot run in TNA as Bully Ray. And, like, I wanted Bully Ray. Like,
Bully Ray was a star.
This was fine for a nostalgia pop, but what I really wanted was then for him to turn into Bully Ray after this and get a big push.
Bully Ray could have drawn money in WWE. That's a top heel for Roman to work with. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would have loved it if they brought Devon back and he could have turned out. Like, the entire time, the Dudleys come back later this year, and the whole time they're there, I'm just like, so when's Bubba going to turn on him and get his solo run?
And it just never happens.
Also, God, did he look fat here?
Yeah, he doesn't look great.
Wow. Like, he's not in Bully Ray's shape at this point.
I definitely don't think that he thinks that he's coming back.
No, doesn't seem like it.
It's just,
Number 4 is Luke Harper as Bubba eliminates Truth. Loved Luke Harper's solo theme music.
Oh, yeah. And then Luke Harper gets in with Bubba Ray, and they just start slamming each other.
Yeah.
I love it.
Two big hosses. Bray Wyatt, number 5. He is solo at this point as they have broken up the Wyatt family for the first time. For some reason, WWE just cannot keep the Wyatt family together.
I don't know what it is.
They are so much less without each other.
And it's not just that. It's just with Bray. They cannot settle on what he is or what he's meant to be ever.
A cult leader with no followers.
A guy with supernatural powers or not.
And
like,
sometimes a child molester.
It's just like, what is Sister Abigail a thing? Is Sister Abigail not a thing? Does he have mind control powers or does he not have mind control powers? What's going on?
For a week, he had Sister Abigail as an alternate personality. Thank God that got dropped.
For a month, he had Xavier Woods as his mind control victim.
That was amazing.
It went nowhere.
The story of Bray Wyatt. I don't know. Who's had more failed pushes, Bray Wyatt or Dolph Ziggler?
Bray Wyatt, because Dolph Ziggler's got places.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler's pushes always get somewhere. They're just disappointing. Bray, his only title run was literally like, oh, hey, Bray had the title for that day. Cool.
Bray and Luke team up on Bubba. Bray throws Bubba out. Curtis Axel is number 6. He gets jumped on his way to the ring by Eric Rowan. Eric Rowan takes his place in the match.
And while that might sound bad for him, it turns out to be the best thing for his career.
Axelmania.
He probably only has a job to this day because of Axelmania.
Yeah. What a great gimmick.
Just the idea of like, I never got a limit. I swear that I remember, maybe this is just some sort of fever dream, but I could swear that I remember at some point him like throwing Roman over a top rope and then proclaiming that he won the Royal Rumble like a year later.
Hilarious if that happened. I hope it did.
That happened.
So yeah, we got all 3 Wyatt family members in the ring. They kind of tease they're going to team up, but they end up fighting each other. Bray sneaks up on both Harper and Rowan and tosses them both, so he's alone in the ring. And then number 7 is the Boogeyman. Pretty great surprise entrant. He's in great shape, despite being like 50 years old.
Here's the thing. He like debuted when he was 50 years old. So he's like 60 years old now, and he looks like dynamite.
He was super old when he was on Tough Enough. And like really sold the lie to them.
Like, how old are you? I'm 30. Are you sure? I'm 40. Are you sure? I'm 50.
Yeah. Bray levels Boogie with a clothesline and throws him out. Bray's on fire. Fake Sin Cara is number 8. He takes Sister Abigail and gets tossed out. Bray gets on the mic and talks some shit. Number 9 is Zack Ryder. He gets a big pop. This is his first appearance in months after rotator cuff surgery. Because he's over with this crowd, he lasts 30 seconds before he gets eliminated.
And boy, is that just a sign of things to come.
Oh, yeah. Number 10, Daniel Bryan. Let's do this.
And like ideally, 10 is like the perfect time for him to come out.
Yeah.
Because he can stay all the way to the end.
Yep. I mean, he could have done 60. How long? He was in the Greatest Royal Rumble this year for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, but if you bring him out like number 1, it's either super obvious he's going to win or that he's going the distance. 10, like it's nice. I like that.
Yeah. He comes in hot with some kicks, a super Frankensteiner. Number 11 is Fandango with some really weird, different music. Like,
yeah, this is
the guy had one thing that was over. Yeah, he also looked like a, I don't know, waiter in a Mexican restaurant.
He was trying to get over as a heel, you see, because he had his new valet.
Who was that?
God, I'm totally blanking on her name now.
Rosa Mendez?
It wasn't Rosa Mendez. It was the other girl that they had here. That oh god, she had the huge domestic violence thing.
Nope,
I'm
no idea.
Totally blanking on her name right now.
Number 12, Tyson Kidd. Number 13, Stardust. Kidd doesn't last long. He gets eliminated by Bryan. Bryan throws Bray through the ropes and hits him with a suicide dive. That was my first moment of panic watching this originally, when I thought Bryan had gone over the top rope and eliminated himself.
Oh my god. How great would it have actually been if he had fucking Mil Mascaras himself?
Number 14, Diamond Dallas Page.
Great.
And he's like 58 here, and he looks awesome.
And like literally, it's just a walking advertisement for DDP Yoga because he's wearing the shirt and he's like, "Look at me, I look amazing."
Yeah, he diamond cuts Stardust, Fandango off the top rope, and he hits a diamond cutter on Bray. Just awesome, awesome stuff.
Also, apparently that was Rosa Mendez. That is not what I thought Rosa Mendez looked like. Okay.
Number 15, Rusev. Rusev throws out DDP and Fandango. Rusev and Bray face off, and then Bryan comes flying in with a missile drop kick that takes them both out. And then it happens. Rusev throws Bryan to the apron. Bray body blocks him off like a sack of shit, and Daniel Bryan is out of the match. Like, my jaw hit the floor when this happened originally.
The fans
shocked.
They don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
They're silent. Like the whole time Daniel Bryan is walking to the back, they're silent. They're not booing. No. They're just silent. And then the boos come.
Like, he gets eliminated super early in the match and just like totally unceremoniously. Like, no angle to take him out. Like, you could have gotten some heat here if you'd had like the Authority show up and screw him, or the Wyatt family or something.
Here's the most offensive thing about this is that WWE knew that it would cause heat with this crowd to eliminate Bryan in the way that they did, because that's why they had Rusev and Wyatt do it, and then have Rusev and Wyatt like pose for the crowd afterwards. They were like, oh boy, this would be a great chance to get heat on those guys. They had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd literally boos for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, the match is over for them. Yeah. Like, there are like going to be peaks and valleys, and we'll mention that. But literally, like, in between people coming out, it's just a low, steady boo.
Yeah, boos, Daniel Bryan chants, CM Punk chants, bullshit chants. Like, I've never seen a crowd turn on a match like this long and in this sustained a fashion.
I mean,
it's uncomfortable.
Normally you just go home if a crowd was responding like this, but you can't. It's the Rumble. So the guys in there just have to suffer. Like, people who are like Kofi Kingston comes out and gets shat on.
It's like, we don't need you. We don't want your Rumble shit right now, Kofi. This is serious.
I feel feel like he wasn't even supposed to be the next guy, but they were just like, go have Kofi do a funny thing, and they do not care.
Yeah, so number 16 is Gold Dust, which means we pan from Daniel Bryan being on the ground to Gold Dust Titantron, which says Shattered Dreams. Doesn't it just feel like they were fucking with us?
It does. And I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, with one obvious exception that we've mentioned in a past podcast, but man, it sure does.
Just like they knew this was going to be bad, but I think that they just thought like the crowd would get it out of their system, and like by the time Reigns comes out, they'll be cool. But it's just like when this happens, it dawns on you like Reigns is going to win. Although in my head, I was coming up with every possible surprise, like Punk's coming back, Taker's coming back, Rock is coming back, like somebody else is going to show up at the end here and win.
Yeah, I wasn't. Like, because like the entire reaction from the crowd too is like, we now know what's going to happen in this match. Daniel Bryan was the only other option. And so the only time they cheer, aside from Mizdow, is for the guys they think might have a chance. They cheer a little for Ambrose. They cheer a little for Ziggler. And when they're thrown out, they go right back to booing.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, cool. All right, back to Reigns then, huh? Well, we know exactly what's going to happen.
Stardust tries to eliminate Goldust. Goldust comes back in and they fight. Loud Daniel Bryan chant breaks out. Kofi Kingston comes in number 17. Adam Rose, remember him, is number 18. He's got his the Rosebuds, were they called?
Yes.
I wish Braun Strowman had been one of them here.
There's always, like, if you go back, there's always a number of fun people, including Braun Strowman, who was like a gladiator or something in the Rosebuds for a while. What a weird career Adam Rose had. Like, do you know what his gimmick was in NXT before this?
Oh, wasn't he like a bounty hunter, Leo Kruger?
Yeah, he's like Leo Kruger, like the man from South Africa who hunted, like the expert hunt. He's basically like Kraven the Hunter from Spider-Man.
I always thought he had a great, like, sinister charisma to him.
Yes.
Like, he looks like a supervillain.
And then
This weird-ass gimmick.
this weird party gimmick, and then they're like, okay, good, he's ready, and then they threw him up on the main roster.
Well, it's just the epitome of, like, something that kind of ironically got over in NXT that, like, wasn't going to work in front of a real crowd.
So many of the early NXT call-ups were that. It's just things that got
Tyler Breeze.
Emma.
Yeah. Oh, Emma's probably the preeminent example.
Perfect example. Super over in front of the NXT crowd, but it's such a weird niche gimmick, it's not going to communicate. It ruined her career.
Yeah. So the reason Adam Rose comes out is so that Kofi can get thrown out of the ring, like land on Rose's posse and body surf on them until he can get back in the ring.
Yay.
Of the Kofi, like, spots, that's definitely the lamest.
It's definitely the lamest, yes.
Then Rose gets eliminated by Rusev, and Kofi gets eliminated by Rusev. So we've had our fun. Number 19, Roman Reigns. Tons of boos.
Because they know.
Yeah,
Like, if
this was it.
under different circumstances, I don't think he would have been booed.
Probably not, no.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it's Philly. He's a pretty boy. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But, like, they know. Everyone knows what's happening.
Yeah. And, like, that's one of the main issues here is just how telegraphed it is. Like, it's just nobody's asking for it. Like, there's not a crowd of people who are like, yeah, we want Roman as champion. They're just not there yet. They could be eventually, but, like, too soon.
And now there's no villain for him to slay. There's no big bad Brock Lesnar, let's get the belt off of him, because now Lesnar's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, what is there for people to want to cheer?
Reigns comes in through the crowd. I didn't like the crowd entrance was a bad fit for him too.
Yeah, it really was. Like,
Ambrose should have done the crowd entrance.
Ambrose should still do the crowd entrance.
Not now he gets stabbed.
Ambrose should do like the old Stan Hansen in Japan crowd entrance. He would just come busting through the fucking crowd, waving your bell around, hitting people in the face.
I would love that. In his bang coat.
Just get like a whole row of plants and just have him like mow through them.
Reigns eliminates Goldust and Stardust. Heavy booing.
Yep.
Big E is number 20. Damien Mizdow is number 21. Miz comes in, says he's taking that spot. Mizdow thinks about it and decides he's going to get in the ring. And he gets in the ring and he gets tossed out after like literally 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And like he actually woke the crowd up. Like he actually got the crowd cheering.
Like the crowd goes from fuck this to oh shit, yay!
Like, yeah. Maybe Damien Mizdow is not going to win the Royal Rumble. Like,
but they could have let him in for a while.
Let him do something.
Throwing him out the way that they did was a slap in the face to the fans who were just looking for anything to be interested in. That's an audible they should have called. Is just let him park himself in a corner or something.
Yeah. Well, this is what it really feels like they're trolling the crowd at this point.
It does.
Like, just like literally everybody this crowd likes is going to get shit on tonight.
It's pretty incredible, honestly.
Jack Swagger is number 22. Ryback is number 23. He is not over anymore.
Like, how many years ago was it that Ryback was the biggest thing in wrestling?
2012. It was the fall of 12 when he had the Hell in a Cell match against Punk.
So it's been a couple of years.
Yeah. A couple of years, some really ill-advised heel turns. Yeah. This is when the CM Punk chants start. I did not make the connection until right now that Punk shit on Ryback in that podcast.
Famously, yes.
Just eviscerated the guy. Kane, Corporate Kane is number 24.
Jesus Christ.
Corporate Kane is just the saddest thing. Although I don't know, is like 50-year-old Demon Kane worse?
No, because 50-year-old Demon Kane, you could like squint your eyes and imagine it's good Kane.
Kind of looks like good Kane with a big belly.
This is just kind of like an old dumpy guy with like big biceps.
Yeah.
Who's just in suit pants. It's not
a big old potato.
There's nothing interesting here. He's not a threat. Nobody believes in this.
No. But they treat him like he's a badass.
Of course they do, because it's the Rumble, the one night a year where you have to pretend like you were booking him right the other nights.
Ambrose is number 25, and again, that gets the crowd going.
Because again, like, if you're looking for any desperate option for like who could actually win this other than Roman, all right, you could maybe talk yourself into Ambrose, right?
Yeah, and Brock would have buried his ass at WrestleMania 31 instead of WrestleMania 32.
God, it would have been just as satisfying.
Number 26 is Titus O'Neil. He lasts like 3 seconds. He gets eliminated by Reigns and Ambrose. It's definitely supposed to be 1 second, but he gets caught up on
his own record.
Yeah.
They're going to give him the record for being a loser, and he fucked it up.
The Titus O'Neil story.
My God.
Titus O'Neil, famous for 3 things, I guess. 1, that really weird moment where he grabbed Vince McMahon's arm.
Yeah.
2, falling on his face in the greatest Royal Rumble. And 3, getting thrown out of the Royal Rumble really, really fast.
But not fast enough.
Not fast enough. Bad News Barrett is number 27. He actually gets a nice pop. He's the reigning Intercontinental Champion.
God, I miss Barrett.
Yeah. Is he even wrestling anymore?
No, he left the business.
Wow.
He's acting now.
God, they've really fucked with him.
Like, listen, there were at least 3 times where I genuinely thought that Barrett was going to be a main eventer in this company. And they just said, nah.
When he grew that beard and got in shape and got the Bad News gimmick.
Yes. Bad News Barrett should have been a main event heel. No question.
Yeah. Didn't work out.
You.
Number 28, Cesaro. Rusev eliminates Big E with a drop kick. Number 29 is Big Show. The entire ring swarms him as he enters, but he throws them all off. And then the shit really starts as Big Show and Kane team up to eliminate Ryback, then Swagger. Kane chokeslams Rusev. Dolph Ziggler is entrant number 30. So yeah, the horror really set in for me when after Big Show came out, I was like looking at the ring and I'm like, has anybody not come in yet? I'm like, fuck, Ziggler hasn't come in yet. Like, there's no surprise. Like this is actually it. Except then I started talking myself into the idea that because Axel never came in, there was going to be a surprise extra entrant taking Axel's spot.
Now, I love the overthinking on that.
I was begging. I was in the bargaining phase.
See, I never think that far ahead when things like this happen. I remember sitting in my friend's living room and just looking on with like my jaw agape. Like, they're doing this. They're doing this. They're gonna do this. Why?
Oh. Ziggler comes in hot. He eliminates Bad News Barrett with a super kick. Cesaro grabs Ziggler, does one of the best swings ever on him.
Yeah.
Like, has him like somehow like almost up over his head as he's swinging him. Almost eliminates him. They fight on the apron. Dolph ends up eliminating Cesaro with a super kick. Ziggler goes up to the top rope, gets hit with a KO punch by Big Show, and then Big Show and Kane pick up Ziggler and dump him over the top rope like a sack of shit.
Like, literally, he's unconscious, so they grab him by all four of his limbs and just shove him over.
Fuck me. Like, oh, God. The crowd is so angry watching this. And, like, you can see what they're going for, and if there was someone they liked to beat these guys, they would be into it. But they're not. Yeah.
But because everyone knows where it's going, it's so nakedly, we got to pretend these guys are monsters for Roman to slay. Even though they're not. They're nothing.
They're big jobbers. Yeah. Show and Kane then team up to eliminate Bray. He was in the match forever. He was in there 45 minutes.
He didn't do anything after his little bit in the beginning.
No. And, like, should also mention, you know who we haven't mentioned for like 10 minutes? Roman Reigns. He's not doing anything. He's like literally just playing in the corner.
And it's to the point where I genuinely developed a theory that like somebody like a ref or something heard from Gorilla and told him like, hey, they're booing the shit out of you right now. Yeah. Maybe don't do anything. Yeah. You out of the way. They forget that they're mad.
Yeah. That's not crazy, but I mean, I don't know. I think you got to try to work and impress people.
Yeah.
No, he just lays there.
And that's part of the problem of this is that if this were what it was the previous year, like a truly impressive, dominating performance,
people would have booed him louder.
They would have, but at least you could take him seriously.
Yeah, he actually worked, and like
by the time you get to the end, you're like, fuck you, you got handed this.
Yeah. So we're down to Show and Kane against Ambrose and Reigns. It's a double choke slam on Ambrose, and he also gets dumped over the top rope like a sack of shit.
Yep.
Bury everybody the crowd likes.
Until we get down to nobody the crowd likes.
Kane and Big Show start fighting. There's a loud bullshit chant and a we want refunds chant. As Kane and Show are fighting, Reigns sneaks in from behind them and dumps them both. The bell rings, but there's no announcement of Reigns as the winner. Big Show and Kane run in and beat up Reigns. It's a double choke slam on Reigns. At this point, the crowd starts chanting for Rusev. And then The Rock's music hits. And he storms down the aisle. big surprise. I don't remember if it had leaked that he was around. I think it had.
I didn't know. I can tell you
I
that.
feel like it had leaked that he was in, at least that he was like around Philly.
Right.
But he's there. Like I said, at this point, I thought Rock was somehow going to win this match. Like, Rock was actually the 30th entrant, as little sense as that would make.
It would be awesome, but
sure, we all would have gone along with it. Right. Rock bottom on Big Show, and Rock bails out of the ring, goes to the floor. Now Rusev pops up, and everybody realizes he never got eliminated.
Like, this could have been a really cool moment.
I guess. The problem is, again, this is who the crowd wants to win now.
Yeah. I mean, it's not ideal, but at the very least, you could milk it. Like, you could have him, like, get in and, like, build that anticipation that maybe he's going to win, that sort of thing. But they don't.
Isn't it like 10 seconds before Reigns dumps him?
Yeah. He, like, runs into the ring, Reigns spears him, chucks him, celebrates. That's it. It's like literally every single person on this show that the fans open their mouths to say we like this person, they get shit on. Like, deliberately and thoroughly in a way that can't be accidental.
Yeah, it feels like WWE is like throwing a temper tantrum against their audience.
It's very straight. It's like, look, we gave you Brian. Stop asking us for stuff.
We gave you Brian. We gave you Punk, and like, look what he did to us.
So we've decided that no more Smart Favorites will get anything.
You will never get over.
And maybe that is what it was. Is like, just they spent some time chasing like what the fans were telling them they wanted, and it blew up in their face twice.
It didn't really get them anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, like, Punk left and Brian got hurt, and so maybe Vince was like, you know what, fuck this. We're going back to the old way.
Yeah.
Maybe that explains why they stuck with Reigns doing what he's been doing with so little change for so long.
Stubbornness, and like, it pretty much worked out with Cena.
Yeah. Just the idea that, like, look, we don't have to chase them. They can come to us.
Yeah, so Reigns spears Rusev and throws him out, and that's it. Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble. Boos just absolutely shower Reigns. In a hilarious moment, Rock gets in the ring to like raise Reigns' arms in victory, and he's just like, what the fuck is going on, as he's looking out at the crowd booing.
Like, The Rock has not gotten the reaction that he didn't want from a crowd in probably 20 years.
Yeah, like, other than, like, since Die Rocky Die, he's had crowds in the palm of his hands. But, like, here he's met an unstoppable force.
And literally, WWE has asked him to come in and give, like, the rub to Reigns. And, like, this is a slap in Rock's face.
Yeah.
Because they've asked him to endorse a person who everyone hates.
It feels like this affected his relationship with the company.
Like, I can't, we can't say that for sure, but when you look at it,
like, since then, when he's shown up, he just hasn't really done anything.
The Rock is a very brand-centric person. It's very important to him that people like him and view him that way. I mean, that's his whole deal. He's very careful.
It's like literally the most beloved man in America.
And he's carefully constructed that. It's not an accident. It's not just because he's a likable guy. He's a marketing genius for himself. But this, associating himself with someone so many people hated, is something that Rock never would have knowingly done.
No.
So that moment in the ring where he's like, oh, great. Yeah, fuck. It's bad. It's not good.
And somehow things get even stranger from here. On the post show, there's a Rock and Reigns promo, which is just kind of surreal to watch. Like, Rock is not on his game and is like kind of stumbling over his words. There's like people like walking through the shot behind it and like behind the camera that like Rock is yelling at while the promo is going on. Like, Reigns tries to talk and like can't get his words out. Like, has nothing to say, like kind of freezes up and like is not ready for this moment at all. Like Rock like ends up saying Reigns lines for him. Like, I can't believe this garbage made air.
It makes everyone look really bad.
Yeah.
And it had to have embarrassed The Rock. Had to have.
Yeah. Like, it's a genuinely terrible Rock promo.
And I'm sure he's shaken by this whole thing. Like he's not prepared for this. He's supposed to come back and be worshipped.
Yeah. And then in his head, he's got to be like, fuck, I'm handing the torch to this guy, and he can't even cut a damn promo. Yep. Like, he has to say one catchphrase, and he can't get it out. That night, cancel the WWE Network was the #1 trend in the world on Twitter.
Sure was.
I believe I started a thread on Raja that night entitled Irrational Daniel Bryan Argument Thread.
And it was the most hopping thread on the forum for about 8 months.
Stirring up some shit.
Man.
I don't remember if it was this year or the year before this, but if it was the year before this, then I definitely bumped it this night.
It's just... This hurt people's interest in wrestling in a measurable way.
This was just one of those, I just remember like just staying up for hours after, like till 2 a.m, just like reading Twitter, reading message boards, like trying to figure out what was going on.
This is where the comparison between Roman Reigns and John Cena doesn't fly, because people didn't like John Cena in a similar way. Like they didn't like what he represented as a function of the company that they were pushing down their throat. And against other people that they liked, like Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho, that happened. But it never got as vicious as it did with Reigns. Never.
Yeah. And some of it was probably when John Cena's on the rise, social media, there is no Twitter. Facebook's not as big yet. Like, right. Social media is not as big. You have message boards, but that's a much smaller percentage of the population than is on Twitter. So it can't snowball the way it can now.
I just want you to place yourself in Roman Reigns' shoes.
Yeah.
In June of this year, you're making your way up. Like, everything looks like amazing. The office has your back. You're having great matches with your partners. Everything's amazing. By the time you get to February, every single fan you meet fucking hates you.
Yeah, like you were getting heckled walking through airports.
And it doesn't stop.
Yeah, like people are attacking you as you walk through the crowd, which was part of the reason I couldn't believe they kept doing that crowd entrance for so long.
People would like be punching him in the stomach, and it's just like, hey, Roman Reigns could murder you. What are you doing? Yeah. It's just, I feel so bad for Reigns. And I never got frustrated with Roman Reigns personally, because all he did was try to improve and live it down. He tried to follow Cena's example. Just get better. Eventually they'll respect you. And they just never did. And WWE gave him no favors whatsoever. Not one step of the way. They just refused.
Booking of him.
They just ignored this night and proceeded along a path that they were going to see through no matter what anybody said. And it's sometime last year, I finally broke down and said, like, I can't support this anymore. This is so fucking terrible. And the fact that it took him revealing that he's been living with leukemia this entire time to make everyone shut the fuck up about this, is incredible.
It does put everything in a very different light, doesn't it? Like, if we had known that about him, I don't think people would have hated him.
I don't know how you could have.
Made a lot more sense.
And like, I totally understand if you wanted to keep that a secret or didn't want to make it a thing, or I get it.
This is wrestling. You got to use everything you got.
It's just, so now here's what we have. If Roman Reigns dies of cancer tomorrow, we shat on his life for 10 years. And we've got to live with that. And maybe that's easier for some of you than it is for others. It's just not easy for me, and I defended him for most of the time. It's very unpleasant. These past 5 years have been horrible. And it all
Mick
started.
Foley did a video where he smashed his TV.
Good for you.
Yeah, Mick really trying to jump up. Also awkward because I'm pretty sure this was when Mick's kid was working for the company.
I think it was, yeah.
In what was honestly a stroke of luck, a massive snowstorm hit the Northeast that night, and Raw the next night, which was supposed to be in Hartford, had to be canceled because there was literally like a travel ban and a state of emergency declared.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, the only time Raw ever got canceled where somebody hadn't died. They instead presented a really interesting studio show. They showed the triple threat match and the Rumble, and then they did a bunch of sit-down interviews with Bryan, with Lesnar, with Rollins, Reigns, Cena. Like, this was great, actually. This is, like, maybe it was just because it was so different, but, like, I loved this episode of Raw.
I'd love the idea of them just doing like sit down interviews with guys and then just showing some matches like that. I love that.
What you're saying is we need to bring back Tuesday Night Titans.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Especially if Vince is the host.
Oh my God. No.
But yeah, no, after they did this, I was like, shit, this is what Raw should be. Like, it should be a studio show. And like, yeah, we can show matches too, but like, I love the way we're getting the personality out of these guys in this environment.
That is a very interesting idea. They will never do that.
No. And shit, I remember before they canceled Talking Smack, I was like, this is what their show should be. Like, Talking Smack should be the show.
It's basically just like a sports center where guys come on and talk about it.
Yeah, and just like it's relaxed. It's not necessarily relaxed, but it's like it's spontaneous. Like it's not so scripted. We get stuff out of the guys that we wouldn't normally get. Reigns did a pretty good promo here, and it helped that they had plenty of time to rehearse it. It wasn't in front of a live crowd. He did okay here. Which this was much better than him getting thrown to the wolves and having to do a promo in front of the live crowd because they would have eaten him alive.
Right.
So I'm sure they considered changing directions, but they stuck to their guns. They stuck with Reigns. That Thursday, they did a live episode of SmackDown. Reigns was in the first match of the show against Big Show and just got like booed out of the house. Like, the reaction he has subsequently gotten for years and years.
Yep.
And Bryan and Reigns had a match at the February pay-per-view to determine who was going to go to WrestleMania to face Lesnar. We all hoped and prayed that Bryan would win, or at least it would be a draw and we could do a triple threat match, but Reigns won, Bryan endorsed him, the boos continued, and they never stopped. And it all goes back to this night in January of 2015. Like, you can come up with all sorts of other things, but at the core of this, they pushed him instead of Daniel Bryan, and the crowd never forgave him.
Can't say it better than that.
Oh, well, I'm glad we did this show.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, this was just a lot of stuff we just covered, but what a fascinating, strange, surreal show.
We've tiptoed around the idea of Roman Reigns on several other shows. It was nice to finally get in there and vent some of this.
It's just like this has been wrestling for 5 years. Like, this has been the number one story in wrestling for the last 5 years, and I don't even know what number 2 is.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's been the Roman Reigns show for years and years now. Like, I think certainly to the detriment of the company creatively, I think it would have been a more fun show if they had had an interest in some other people getting over too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a complex issue to really go down because, I mean, they just never seem to figure out who exactly they wanted those people to be, and the people that they did like didn't pan out. Like, there's a lot to this. It's not just a matter of saying pick other people, not just Roman. But yeah, I agree with you.
Ooh. So yeah, I guess that's a wrap for the Royal Rumble 2015. What a fascinating time.
God, just a few years ago, but you said earlier that it feels like yesterday, and in the same breath, like I would say that it feels like it was like 50 years ago, because I feel like this has been going on for so fucking long.
It's just the slog of Roman Reigns, and there are so many attempts to get him over. Like, they have literally tried everything. They've tried pushing him. They've tried not pushing him. They've tried having him be solo. They've tried giving him friends. Like, every time it seemed like he was finally going to get his big win, they yanked the rug out from under him to, try to get him some sympathy. And, like, it could just never work.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day.
If he ever does come back, the crowd's reaction is going to be very interesting.
Yes, if he comes back at like WrestleMania to cheer on Seth Rollins or something and you fuckers boo him, just understand that I'm coming for your asses.
Horrible people if that happens. Ooh, all right. So that's a wrap for Rumble 2015. Next time, we've got the Royal Rumble 2008. One of, I think, the most underrated Royal Rumbles of all time.
Oh, God, yeah. It's so much fun.
Yeah. From Madison Square Garden, a star-studded Royal Rumble with one of the greatest surprise returns in pro wrestling history.
Absolutely. The greatest moment in Rumble history for my money.
Yeah. So, all that to look forward to. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next time.